Okay, so we're going to talk about Clover Health again. We had a video yesterday on this with the short seller at Hindenburg Research, and they pretty much came out accusing Clover of a few things. And today we got a response from Clover. Pulled this up from going to their website, going to the news section, and they start off with some marketing jargon, talking about the sales pitch of the company. But then they actually go and answer the questions from Hindenburg. So this right here, right off the bat, before we even go through any of this today, mad respect to Clover for coming back in like 24 hours, answering all these questions, not really trying to divert things. And this is already a step above the whole Nicola situation where they pretty much tried to hide after that whole short seller report came out. Clover is kind of facing this front and center, and they're answering the questions straight up. So let's go through this. We're going to talk about a few things today, a tweet, stock price movement, and actually some news from an analyst as well. So interesting video here on Clover. Let's go. All right. So first off, this is one of the biggest questions I think, like I said yesterday, we needed an answer to, and we got an answer to now. Did Chamath or Clover know about the ongoing DOJ investigation? So first sentence right away answering this question, they were fully aware. They say, to be clear, Clover does not believe it is or has been in violation of any rules or regulations related to the inquiry. So they're pretty much saying, they are under investigation right now, yes, but they've gone through all of the proper steps, procedures. They're being as transparent as possible, and they don't believe they're in the wrong here, despite what this investigation is trying to find out from the business. Okay, that's an important part, and that kind of clarifies a lot for us. If anyone here is a shareholder of Clover, this should actually instill quite a bit of confidence. Now, I don't really know the nitty-gritty of the details of all of this, what the investigation is actually going to uncover, the results of that, but they've acknowledged it here, and I think that's a good starting step. Then they actually go through here, for absolute clarity, they add a couple of points, believes it's made all the proper disclosures. They say that they were, approached by the DOJ, they are under investigation, but they haven't done anything wrong in their opinion. Now they go through and they answer a bunch of other questions, and like yesterday, I'm not going to go through each one of these guys. However, if you are a shareholder of Clover, this is something you want to spend some time on, especially if you have a good amount of your wealth in this business. The next thing we really want to talk about, no, I do at least, is around Seek Insurance, because this was the other big thing I discussed in the video yesterday, where Seek is apparently its own business, but after some digging, Hindenburg says that they're owned by Clover. So here's what Clover has to say about all of this. They say Seek Medicare is a startup that was incubated and set up as a separate company from Clover, has its own management team, outside investor, board and employees. It's pretty much its own company. Yes, Clover is involved, so they have the right to appoint a board member. The outside investors right to appoint a board member, and then the third board member, the CEO, is decided between both of these, mutually agreed upon. So I think that, they're operating as a separate business here, but the other concern was, hey, isn't this a conflict of interest? Doesn't this mean that any customer that goes to Seek is just going to get pushed to Clover? They're not really going to have much of a choice. Well, digging through this, they actually break it down here, and this was quite surprising. They say that this is what the percent of Seek sales look like by insurance plan in their most recent AEP. You can see Clover's actually at number 4 at 13.5%. But if Hindenburg, their theory was that pretty much everything is getting pushed on to Clover, and it's kind of a conflict of interest there, and they're kind of just fueling their own fire, if you will. It's not true. It's not true. There's Cigna, Humana, CVS, United Health, Horizon. There's a lot of other companies that get sales through Seek Insurance. So again, that was another big point that I discussed yesterday, and I think this is clear now. Doesn't look like much of a issue here. Clover is one of the options, yes, but clearly is not the number one option. Next, Clover and B&H Assurance. This was another big point I discussed yesterday. So they say Clover has paid around $160,000 directly to B&H since 2017. They go through a couple of points here regarding B&H. So he says that Hiram has maintained a 50% ownership in that, which he has owned since before joining Clover. So I guess it was already known when he joined Clover that he was, a 50-50 stakeholder in this company. And they say here that he owns this because in case he decides to leave from Clover, he has the option to go back. This, I don't know if it's not really a very strong point. I'm sure this will get rebutted again by Hindenburg, but I mean, this is what they've put out there. This is what they've said publicly. Now, they also say one of the questions, what portion of Clover's business has been referred to by B&H? They say around approximately 8,200 of their current members were referred. And while it has been a strong contributor to their growth, they wouldn't necessarily say that their growth at Clover has been fueled by B&H alone. Okay, so, going through a few more questions. Was Chamath aware of the DOJ? Well, they answered this in the first question. Yes, he was aware. And they say, to be clear, Chamath's statement, we do not motivate doctors to upcode or do any kinds of things to get paid, is accurate. And they explain why. They say we pay Clover Assistant primary care physicians a fixed flat payment income per office visit. And unlike other plans, they don't pay more or less if they disagree with this Clover Assistant. They pretty much have freedom of choice there as to whether they like it or dislike it. And, the payment is irregardless of that. And this is important because they say there's no financial motivation that we provide physicians to answer in any particular way. And I mean, they give you some screenshots here in the Clover Assistant, and they give them pretty much the freedom of choice to pick whatever option they want. Whether they're getting paid or not, they still have the option to pick freely. So then they go through a few more things here before I get into some of the more juicy stuff that happened near close today. So they say, if the software is so delightful, why does Clover have to pay $200 per visit just to use it? Well, they pretty much just say that this is part of their innovation model. It's just part of Clover's business model, like I talked about yesterday. And it's an important part of them actually growing their business. They say, to be clear, the extra $200 per visit is not incremental or just to use the Clover Assistant. Represents the overall payment that covers both the PCP office visit and the use of Clover Assistant. This translates to roughly twice the traditional Medicare fees paid to PCPs for an office visit, more in line with fees paid to specialists. And then you have a whole bunch of more, explanation that they have here. They talk about Net Promoter Score, NPS. They show how, our most recent NPS results from the year end is very positive. And yeah, so they pretty much, acknowledge everything. They even throw in some bonus questions here that weren't even asked. They just want to throw some more information out there. And overall, I think that they did a very good job of answering these questions. They even talked about the $1 million donation. They say, well, I mean, he's free to donate whatever he wants. He's donated to other funds as well, like the Goodwill Rescue Mission. We talk about the turnover. Remember, we talked about this yesterday. I said this was a non-issue to me. Well, pretty much non-issue to them as well. They say they've evolved over the years and they needed different people. That's just what happens in business, right? So overall, very good response from Clover. There are a few holes here and there that may be poked again because Hindenburg has said they will be preparing a response. And you can see here they post on Twitter saying they're preparing a response. So who knows, maybe we'll make another video on this. But at this point, I think both sides have got a chance to say what they wanted to say. And it's in investors' hands now if they want to keep holding the stock or not. So I'll provide some more information with you on this to help with that if you are a shareholder or considering. So Bank of America, one of the biggest firms in America, has defended Clover Health here after response and short seller. They don't believe that this is actually, an issue long term for the business, and they actually maintain a buy rating of $20 price target for Clover. Now, near market close, we had Chamath come out and say, for those following Clover, trust the process and the facts. And here he pretty much just made a quick statement saying, yesterday's report was, rifle personal attacks, thin facts, and bluster that has been rebuked by the company. And he gives a link to the full response which we just looked through. And he pretty much says that, while I may have my own views on short sellers, I do believe they should remain a part of the capital markets and recognize the perspective that in some cases they can identify real anomalies. This is not the case here. He says he wished Hindenburg had actually contacted them, either him or Clover. They would have gone through everything, but Hindenburg was obviously looking for some fame here. They got a lot of success from Nikola, and they're trying to build on that here. So, I mean, take of it what you will. Chamath clearly says, trust the process, trust the facts, and guess what? With that tweet, the stock boomed. Just from that tweet alone, we were up 10%. Those of you that bought in at the lows, you were up like, over 12, 13% for the day. Let's see here. Yeah, about 13% for the day. And you know, it's still down quite significantly. They're still down 24% from our highs. However, I think that now that Clover's come out and pretty much answered all the questions that Hindenburg has put out, even when Hindenburg does release a response, it's gonna be something that's like, hey, you didn't really answer this properly, give us more clarity on this, and it's gonna go back and forth a lot. But I think at this point, the issue has kind of hit its bottom, if you will. I don't think things are gonna get much worse from here. This is just my personal opinion, guys, not financial advice. So for those of you that actually got into this stock over this last week, you know, after this big dip, I would not be surprised to see it back at $14 plus, possibly even getting back to its highs of like $16, $17 very soon, as investors forget about this. They say, okay, well, Clover acknowledged it and everything looks fine to me. And the stock goes back to its actual fundamentals here. They're about a $5 billion company. I think they should be worth a lot more than this, especially for the sector that they're in and what they're trying to do. So long term, this could be a very undervalued company, and investors clearly have started to realize that towards the end of the day after Chamath's tweet. And this could be the beginning of a big run in Clover Health stock. We'll just wait and see how this folds out. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed this quick update. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on all of this, whether you bought on the dip, whether you sold from all the news. Love to hear from you in the comments down below. But either way, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to invest positively, and I'll see you in the next one.